You are listening to The Plot with a Twist, a Burning Hallows production. We are your bookish hosts, Alora and
Row.
if you like what you hear, please like, share, subscribe, comment, or give us a quick review on your podcast app. It helps us become more visible to other bibliomaniacs. We publish bookish episodes each week on Wednesdays, so be sure to stay tuned for discussions and attitudes that are lit.
There are always two sides to every story. There is the book side, and then there is the screen side. And it often seems that neither the two shall meet. As readers, there are some books that are just classics to us. The books that span generations, the ones with a following so big, the book is undeniably a masterclass. The ones that pop up and take the world by storm, or those stories that have all the tropes and genres we love. Those books that someone, somewhere, thinks, hey, this could be good on screen. And while the reading world gets excited, we also wait with bated breath. We wait to see if the cinematography industry can create the worlds we all know and love. Will they do our favourite epic stories justice? Serve yourself a stiff drink, because let's face it, with some of these adaptations, we need it. And listen as we talk book to screen, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Book to screen.
Book. It really is good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are definite book to screen adaptations that I thought worked really well. There are ones I thought were utter trash. And then there are ones that I thought they were not true to the books exactly, but the screen adaptation and the book both stand alone and in great regard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense because there are those ones that we go, oh my Lord, what did you do? Why? Why did you do that? And yeah, there is, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Just wait.
We've probably got a few of the same, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
But then there are the other ones where you're like, you know what? It wasn't bad. I didn't hate it. Did I love it? Was it as good as the book? No. But did I hate it? No.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So to kick us off, what qualities make a book worth adapting to the screen?
It's those epic tales, isn't it? If you think about the books that have been made into either screen or movie, it's those epic tales. It's the quest, it's the found family, it's all of those, or your suspense and your thriller, those ones that really grab the attention of the audience, I feel.
Yeah. The amount of book to screen adaptations for Stephen King alone is immense.
Exactly.
I think character depth and arc play a big part in what gets chosen to be produced on screen. You also have to either have an intricate plot, a unique concept, or when it comes to like romance books, I think you have to have sometimes the feel good plot, whether it's a rom com or it's contemporary. Like you have to have, I think, all three of those to make it work, as well as popularity amongst readers.
I think it's also on that though. It's also got a lot to do with fan base. So if that book has a big fan base, you're likely going to see that. Even if it doesn't, even if it's not for everybody, even if, half the population is, I don't know, it still ends up coming to screen.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean by popularity amongst readers. So fan bases. Exactly.
What are some of your favorite book to screen adaptations?
All right, we'll go one for one on these.
Okay, go one for one.
Okay, so I'll start off with the Hunger Games original trilogy, and I'm being very specific.
Do you want to know something funny?
What?
We brain share too much. I got very specific in some of these too. I'm like, it's not this one, but it is this one.
Yeah, exactly. Because, okay, I'll get into that later. But anyways, the original trilogy of the Hunger Games, even though there were parts that were cut out that I wish they hadn't cut out, that would have given greater translation from the book to the screen. That said, I think that if the Hunger Games universe were to be published today, released today, I think that it would have been better as a TV series versus a movie adaptation, because you're talking the difference between 50 hours of content versus maybe 20 that you get with the movies if they're all 3 hours long.
I think we've got a question like that later on.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. So my next one
Oh, I go in deeper depth in the next
in that question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next one is Harry Potter. However, it's Harry Potter 1 and 2,
Yeah.
4-ish, 5-ish, 6-ish, and no to 7. 7 and 8 are no.
Gotcha. Yeah, I heard a lot of people had problems with The Prisoner of Azkaban.
I will go into that later.
Okay. All right. My next one is Game of Thrones by George R. Martin. And the first few seasons, I have not read all of the books, but what I have read of the books, the first couple seasons stick pretty dang close
Okay.
to exactly what's written in the books. It's uncanny, but I thought that was done really well.
So my next one, because you took the Hunger Games from me, is actually The Power of One by Bryce Courtney.
Okay.
I will give a little bit more context to, I think it was good. You know how we were saying it can be good, it can be not bad, like we didn't hate it. So I'm one of these people that actually, I saw the movie before I read the book this time. And I went, oh yeah, this is really good. And my dad went, read the book. And I went, oh, okay, fine. Let's ruin the movie. Why not?
But do you think that the book and the movie can stand on their own, like individually, and you would still enjoy them?
And that's why I've got it in here. So yes, on its own, individually, that movie stands by itself.
Gotcha.
If you compare it to the book, absolutely not.
Nice.
No. But that's why it's in this one. Yes, I think it did if you hadn't read it.
Okay. I said True Blood seasons 1 and 2, and that was it.
I can't believe you put that in. Yes.
This came from the Sookie Stackhouse novels. Well, not everything in it is from the books. Seasons 1 and 2, the major themes and plot points are there.
Yeah, I'll give that. They were.
And I'll elaborate later.
Elaborate.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next one, and this is specific again, my next one is City of Bones, but the TV series.
Are you talking Mortal Instruments?
Mortal Instruments, yeah.
Okay.
Just the TV series, though. I think the TV series did very well.
We'll agree.
No,
to
you
disagree.
disagree. Oh. And did you watch the movie?
Yes. Don't even start. That's coming up. I have it on my list.
It's on my list too. That's why I'm being very specific. I think, look, the first couple of seasons, I think were done really well in the TV series. Was it exactly what I wanted? No. Did it smack that movie out the park? Yes.
Okay, my next one is Divergent, the original movie. None of the others that followed. So that one, again, stuck to the plot and characters, but they lost the plot from there.
I've
Literally.
got that one too.
Literally lost the plot.
My notes are like, just Divergent, not the others.
True. So true.
Okay, so for me, my next one is Maze Runner. Now, I didn't finish the series, but I did go back and read the first book after I watched the movies with my eldest, and I thought the first one definitely stuck as close as possible to the book.
Yeah, I've heard that. And then I heard that it went downhill from there.
What?
I don't know. I haven't read the books.
I didn't finish the other books, but I've got a comment on this later on, so bear with me.
My next one is one that I actually had to read in uni, and it's called Never Let Me Go. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's by, I'm going to butcher this name, so please forgive me. Kazuo Ishiguro, I think. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce that. But anyways, the movie actually stuck to the plot and the character arcs, and it was really good. It's an interesting dystopian about essentially raising specific people to harvest their organs for the elite.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty gruesome. Okay, what's your next one?
So my next one, and this I'm only going on the fact that the movies were 40 million hours long each, and the fact that some people who have read the books and done the movies said to me, yeah, they were pretty bloody close. And that's Lord of the Rings.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
I sat through those movies and I was like, there's no way I can read those. Absolutely not. Hey, he created an absolutely brilliant world. Amazing. I can do some world build, but holy shit.
Yeah,
That's a lot of world build.
a lot.
But I have heard from people that have read them and watched them that it stuck pretty bloody close. Like it was quite good.
Okay,
Yours?
my next one is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
I had that too.
Did you really?
Yes.
So that was by Ken Kesey.
Yeah.
I think that's how you say that. Yeah, that's another one I read in uni and watched subsequently after reading the book. And it was brilliant. And Jack Nicholson is just amazing.
So good. Hey.
So good in that character.
Yeah. So my next one is Pride and Prejudice, and that's the BBC TV series.
Okay.
They did pretty good.
I have not read Pride and Prejudice, so I can't
I
comment.
know, and you really should. You really should.
Okay, my next one is Outlander.
So
Now, I have comments about that later as well. I haven't read all of the books, but I'll comment later my other thoughts.
yeah, I'll comment on that one later too, because that's on my list, but for the wrong reasons, and I'll explain that later.
Okay.
So my next one is also Sense and Sensibility by the BBC. They did really good with that one too. But these are TV series, right? So it's episodes.
Right.
Works,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that works. I had To Kill a Mockingbird on my list. And I'm talking the original.
The original? Yeah, true.
Yeah. The original black and white movie was amazing.
Yeah.
And that's by Harper Lee.
So my next one is The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown.
Ooh, I've never read that, but I have watched the movie.
Look, they got it as close as they possibly could, and I think they did a great job with it. Did it 100% match? No. Was there things that I was like, that doesn't happen there? Yes. But we do that with all of them, don't we?
We do.
So I think they did a great job on that one.
I also have Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fanny Flagg.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever read or seen
No, I
that?
haven't.
Okay.
No.
So that is a Southern-based novel, Southern US, and it is about two women in the South during the turn of the century into the Great Depression.
Okay.
And one of them owns a cafe, but I'll get into more about that in a later question.
So my other one is Tomorrow When the War Began. That's by John Marsden. So he's an Aussie author, and the movie. On this one, I'm going to go the movie and not the TV series because I haven't watched it. But
Okay. I'll give it to you. I
Do you have any more?
I also had Flowers in the Attic by V.C. Andrews.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
And I'm talking the 1987 movie because when I was a kid, I watched that on repeat, and I don't really know what that says about me because it was written in 1979 and it's a Gothic novel. And it's basically about a woman who has an incestuous marriage to her.
I'm sorry, how old were you when you were watching this?
Oh, geez. Probably, I want to say 11, 12.
Oh, Jesus.
Let me back up. She has an incestuous marriage to her uncle, I believe it is. The movie starts and the book starts that basically he gets in an accident and he dies. And the FMC, she is broke and she has no money. She has 4 kids and she is forced to move back home. But she was disinherited from her family's will because she chose to marry her uncle or her cousin or whoever. And basically, in the will, she doesn't get anything if she has kids with this man. So the
Fair.
so the kids in turn get locked in the grandmother's attic
Oh,
so that the
Jesus.
mother can then remarry, have a pure marriage or what have you, get her inheritance. And it is a really messed up book and movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't be letting my 12-year-old watch that. I'd be like, no,
Oh,
not yet.
dude. And the woman who played the grandmother in that movie scared the living out of me. I was like, oh my God. Like, I remember I had some nightmares about that one.
I'm not surprised. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But I'll go into more detail about that one because there were some things left out in the movie that had
Okay.
they been in the movie when I was that age and in 1987, it wouldn't have flown. So I can see why they left it out, but we'll get into that later.
So my next one is actually, this is a maybe. I'm not sure, but it's Inferno, also by Dan Brown. Now, the book was phenomenal, and I thought the movie did extremely right up until the end. So
Mm.
that's why it's in here. And I'll talk a little bit about this later, and I understand why. No, I don't really. I don't understand it. I get it, but I don't like it. And there's another movie like that I'm going to discuss as well. But three quarters of it was more than three quarters, really was amazing.
I have one more.
I have one
So
more too.
it's Vampire Academy, the series that Peacock did that was on Amazon. Okay. We'll talk about the movie later.
So I left, because I haven't seen the series. I know that you tell me I should watch it, but I haven't seen the series. So I left that off my list because I knew you'd have it. But yes, we'll talk about that movie later.
Mm.
So my last one is Sherlock, but we're talking the new BBC with Benedict Cumberbatch.
It's Benedict Cumberbatch.
And not, mate, not for just that reason, okay? Shut up.
That's
So
funny.
I've read most of those books, and I think were they exactly the same as the stories? No, not really. But, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, they did it so well that you went, yeah, you know what? I'll let it all go. Sure. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. So, what made these ones so good, do you think?
So I think a lot of these have to do with casting choice.
Hallelujah.
Mm,
Preach.
yeah, casting choice. It makes a difference. It makes a lot of difference. And I'm of the opinion that if you're going to do a casting choice, right, I don't give a who you don't care who you use. Just make sure they can act the part. Just make sure they can nail that part. Like, I don't care if you use an alien that's pink with purple freaking polka dots. Just make sure they can act the part.
Yeah, I had that, but I also had budget.
I
So,
have that too.
yeah, if a book is going to be adapted to the screen and it doesn't get a budget, you're already screwed
Yep.
because that
Rude.
budget plays a huge role in how you can pay for the right people to play those roles, the locations that you're going to shoot in, the CGI effects or special effects that you need to use, etc.
Mine was just going to be the budget helps you pay for your special effects. And if they're horrendous, it's not going to, it'll flop 100%.
Mm. And then the other one I had was sticking as close to the books as possible without changing anything super important, like plot lines and characters that either weren't there or you invented or
Oh.
yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. That's a big one for me, and you'll know why when I explain it. But yes, for me, it's either keep as close as you can to the plot line, okay? Or, as I was saying with Sherlock, they kept all the people the same, everything like that. But they put their own spin on it. If you do that, all power to you. You got to hope it pays off. And this one, frick, it paid off. Look, the last season I was a little bit disappointed in, little bit. But overall, I will rewatch the crap out of that thing. Do you know what I mean? Even with Sherlock, even the movies that had Robert Downey Jr.,
Yeah.
they still kept basically to the essence of who Sherlock was and who, well, the other characters were, but then built the story around it. And they weren't terrible. So
Yeah.
if you're going to change it, you got to hope it works.
Yeah, I
All
completely
right.
agree.
Do you think character selection plays a part or all the part in it?
I think that it plays a huge part. I think casting alone can make or break an adaptation. And again, I still think it comes down to budget as well. Look, I don't care if it's a no name actor, but if you can't do the part, it's not going to work. I also think, and this is personal preference, but please stick to the story descriptions of what these characters are supposed to look like. Don't just take an MMC and turn it into an FMC on the screen.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's wait a minute. This book wasn't about what?
See that's what kind of annoyed me. I know that neither of us have Ballad and Songbirds of Snakes, and they're the ones that were successful.
We don't. No, we don't.
But the casting of Maud Ivory annoyed the shit out of me.
Oh,
It annoyed me.
teed
She was
me right
8.
off.
All right, maybe you don't want to get an 8-year-old involved. I don't know why, because clearly you've got extras that are younger than that.
No,
But
stop it. Because have you seen the casting for Sunrise on the Reaping?
they nailed it.
It can be done.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't understand. Like that annoyed I was like, but Maud Ivory's not 12, 13, 14. She's 8. She's a kid. I also, yeah, stick as close as you can to the description. If you can't find or if you don't know of an actor or actress that can play that role, fine. Change it if you really have to. There are descriptions in books for a reason.
Exactly.
And we, as readers, go, wait a minute. When did that dude become a chick? Or when did that chick become a dude?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes, I agree.
What are some books to screen adaptations that didn't live up to your expectations? And we'll go one for one on this.
Okay, I'll go first then.
Yep.
Vampire Academy, the movie.
That's the first one on my list. See,
So bad.
dude, okay. So I was originally so stoked about this movie being made because it was Leah
Me
Thompson's
too.
daughter. Did you know that?
I did not.
So the girl that played Rose was Leah Thompson's daughter.
Wow.
For any Gen Zers who may be listening to this, Leah Thompson was in Back to the Future. If you don't know what Back to the Future is, Google it. Michael J. Fox.
Go and watch it. It's an amazing movie.
Yeah, it's an amazing movie. But Leah Thompson's daughter is Zoe Dutch, who plays Rose in the movie. So when I heard she was the one that was cast, I was like, oh, this could be really good. But then when the movie came out, the cringe level.
It
Budget.
wasn't even B grade.
No,
Like,
it was like
Z grade. It was terrible.
yeah, it was worse than the meat that comes in your tacos at Taco Bell.
Uh,
Because we all know that's not meat.
I was so excited for this, right? Because that series didn't get a lot of airtime. I didn't realize it had the following that it did. When I read them, all of them, I was like, wow, I didn't know this was that popular. And we're going to get a movie? That's so good. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was so bad.
It was extremely cringy. It was extremely low budget. The casting for Dimitri was terrible.
Oh my God, that was so bad.
God love him. God bless him. But no.
Yeah,
But no. Now, like I said, all of that being said, the actual series that came out on Amazon a couple years ago,
Yep.
it was amazing. They stuck to the books like really close, and it was really good. And you know what? It got canceled after season 1. This is a problem with Amazon because Amazon tends, no, I'm telling you, Amazon tends to acquire the rights to produce books into screen adaptations as series or movies. And especially series, if the series doesn't hit in the first 6 months or however long, it's immediately canceled. Like they don't even give people a chance to get to find that it's on Amazon.
I must admit, so I haven't watched it, but I do know you're not the only person that said to me, you need to watch it. It was really good. I've had other friends that have read the series and said the same thing. You need to watch it. It was really good. I haven't yet, but it's on my to-do list.
Whoever they cast, I don't know his name, but whoever they cast as Adrian, spot on.
Really?
Yeah, spot on.
Those are hard shoes to fill.
Yeah. So when I say it was good, it was
Mm.
great, actually.
Okay, your one.
I'm going to go True Blood after season 2 because they just stopped following any of the books for no reason whatsoever. They changed characters who didn't need to be changed because they obviously had the resources for them. But instead of putting the actual characters from the books into the show, they decided, oh, we're going to change this were tiger to a were panther and put it in her brother's storyline.
What the was that? What was that?
That was, we want to keep him in the show and he doesn't have a plot line. That's what that was. And if we make them into were jaguars, it's close enough to a were tiger. No.
It's been a long time since I've read those books. If I remember correctly, isn't he like a douche, her brother?
Yes.
Yeah, in the books, he's just a complete pain in the ass, no job, idiot who you're just like, oh, for God's sake, Sookie, just him off. Get rid of him. What? I stopped after she got back from Fairyland. I was like, I'm sorry, what?
And not to mention, in the books, Bill, he either dies or he's not in the books.
All I remember is that she came back from Fairyland and her brother's a cop. And I was like, what? No, it's not. He's as useless as tits on a bull, that boy. What do you mean?
True Blood, it's in book 3 where the relationship between Bill and Sookie ends completely.
Yeah.
There's no drawn out
Nah.
relationship that continues throughout the series.
Yeah, there was no relationship between them. Do you know what got me about that series now? Do you know what got me?
What?
Was Eric's sire.
That
whole entire episode focus.
I cried my friggin' eyeballs out.
When you read that?
Yes, and watched it.
Yes. For totally different reasons.
For totally different reasons. Yes, exactly. But oh, yeah, it still gets to me.
And they missed out on that little boy. So do you remember that vampire that was like in the I stopped watching because I was like, you've screwed this. I know, and look, they always say based off of the series Sookie Stackhouse. It's based off. It's not a complete, I suppose,
Adaptation.
yeah. They're not trying to do it exactly. But there's some things you shouldn't screw with. And I can't remember what book it was, but Sookie was dealing with these vampires that were fuck off old. Like they were like some of the originals. And there was a young one there, but he was super dangerous. He was like one of the most dangerous around. And I think he killed kids. I can't remember. Anyway, he was like, I want to die. I'm done. I'm done with this. I can't do it anymore. I can't control myself. Blah, blah, blah. And this vampire was a horrible, nasty, terrible vampire. I actually cried my eyes out in that book when he died. I was like, oh, far out, because he went and met the son, right? And I was just like, holy crap, that was horrible. And that whole sequence is right around the time with Eric's sire. And I'm watching the TV series going, what the did you just do? Oh, she's got fairy blood, so she tastes awesome. Let's just no, mate. What? No. Anyway.
I think the entire second season and the storyline around Godric was my favorite thing that they did.
I can't even remember it. That's how disappointed I was in that TV series.
Oh, yeah. You just, I don't know. When you watch it, you just feel so bad for Eric. I'm actually doing a rewatch of the first two seasons. And it's funny because when it initially came out and you initially watched it, you thought Eric was the biggest a-hole on the planet, right? Because you're like,
E-
why is this guy trying to mess with?
But even in the book series, you also thought he was the biggest wanker on the planet.
But I'm talking specifically about the show at the moment.
Yeah.
But now on a rewatch, when I watch those scenes, I'm like, he actually isn't as domineering and stuff as
Maybe not.
the initial watch because you already have the knowledge of what is going on and what happens. And so now I just see him as like an authority figure, like not as domineering and blah, blah, blah. More like I'm just trying to keep order in my area because I don't need problems.
I
And
just
you're the problem.
I didn't, as I said, I didn't complete the series. I didn't watch it. I read the whole entire series. I didn't complete it. Now, I know the ending of the series, and I was like, what the do you mean?
Oh
What
yeah, I
what
that
do you mean? And when I found out, I was like, no, because the whole freaking point of the whole entire series worked up to that reveal at the end. Worked up to everything that happened was all for this ending. And I was like, I read that and went, well done. What? What? No, I
yeah,
don't.
I was pretty mad when yeah.
I don't care how hot that werewolf is. No, just
What
no.
werewolf?
Yeah, doesn't she end up with what's his face?
She ends up with Sam, the shifter.
In the book, she ends up with Sam.
No, that's who she ends up with in the show.
Oh, then they did it right. No, she ends up with they in the book. She ends up with Sam.
I can't remember, but
Yeah, in the I quite liked that ending.
yeah, I don't know. But but I just thought they reinvented the wheel a little bit too much with that.
It annoyed me that Lafayette was still alive after season 2.
Yep.
Look,
Yep.
loved his character.
Loved his character though. He
Up,
was
up, and
amazing.
yeah, he acted it brilliantly, right? Up until he was all of a sudden psychic or whatever it was, and I was like, oh, you've changed something. Not only did you keep him alive,
Yeah.
now you've given him some power. No, I'm sorry, I can't. But it annoyed me that he was still alive after book 2 because the whole start of book 2 and everything that happened in it was because of Lafayette's death. And my next one is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
That's funny because that's the one I brought up.
Look, I am a huge Harry Potter fan. I have been for over 20 years. What they did to that book was sacrilegious. It didn't help that it was my favorite of the whole entire series. Like the whole series, number 3 is my favorite. And the fact that they just, oh, everything about it just rubbed me the wrong way. Stuff didn't happen when it was meant to. They put stuff in that they shouldn't have and then took out stuff that they should have left in there. The night bus, oh my God, that night bus drove me mental. Lupin, what kind of werewolf is that bloody thing? That looks like a mangy freaking dog.
And they had all the budget.
And hang on a second. Yes, Sirius is meant to be like this big. Remus is a werewolf. Spoiler alert if you haven't read Harry Potter, but if you haven't read it, you've probably seen it. Remus is a werewolf, right? A big ass werewolf. Okay? The whole point of Sirius and the gang becoming animagus was so that they could control Lupin when they went out on their little escapades every month, right?
Yeah.
And Sirius is also no bigger than my friggin' mutt. Are you joking? You're absolutely kidding me. And he's seen at the lake with the Dementors, right? What the was that? What was that? Harry's Patronus that's meant to circle them and protect them just what pulses? What was that?
I've
Anyway,
not read all of the Harry Potter books, so I totally believe you.
so can you imagine, right? Imagine me going to the movies. I'm sitting there with my husband, right? This is my favorite book. of the
Mm.
series.
Oh
In the
no.
end, yeah, in the end, he was sitting there going, "Shut up." And I'm like, no, I can't, I physically cannot shut up. And everyone else is trying to watch it. And I'm like, why would they bother? It's absolute rubbish. And we leave the movies and I actually didn't mind it. And I'm like, you will shut your mouth. That's not, no. We were still doing DVDs back then. I refused
Mm.
to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my next one.
Okay. I'm gonna go The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Oh, oh, okay.
There was way too much that was left out or changed in that movie,
Yeah, I agree.
and things that were completely different. Like the fact that in the book, Lucy Gray, when she's singing at the reaping, she doesn't get up there and scream, kiss my, all that stuff. She
Nope.
actually performs, does her entire song, basically, as you're not going to oppress me type vibes. But in the movie, it didn't translate well. And then the Covey scenes, they totally left out the commander's birthday party and the singing of the hanging tree there. They totally, I think something else that was really lacking was God love Tom Blythe. He's a beautiful man, but you didn't get any of his internal monologue. And that's a huge part of the book to understand his neuroses and sociopathy.
Yep, I agree.
I don't know what they could have done with that though.
Look, that one was probably going to be a hard one anyway. Do you know what they probably needed to do? They needed to add more scenes that could communicate all of Snow's decisions. Because
Mm.
yes, you read his inner monologue and you get all this information and you can sit there as a reader and go, why are you making those dumb decisions, you idiot? You
Mm.
can't do that with a movie because you don't get that in a monologue. So I think maybe what they could have done, instead of adding the scenes that they did that weren't in the original book anyway, added scenes that maybe could show his inner issues that he was facing, which they didn't do.
Yeah, or they could have even had him like writing in a journal. Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean with a voiceover?
something like that would have worked because when I originally saw, because I read the book after I'd seen the movie, I hated the movie because I was like, what do you mean? This is meant to tell me why Snow is the way he is. I didn't get that at all. You get that
Mm.
in the book though, because of all the inner monologue, all the dialogue that you get from him. You can understand it now.
Yeah, and
You get it in the movie.
it makes me nervous for
Don't you dare
yeah.
curse that. Don't even put it out in the universe.
We'll get to it later. Anyways, what's your next one?
Okay, so my next one is again the Immortal Instruments movie.
Okay, I had the Mortal Instruments series and movie.
Series. And see, I think they did okay with the series.
I thought it was super cringy.
It was a little bit cringy. It was a little bit cringy, but in all honesty, I think they did okay. Because if you read that book, those books are cringy. So I think they did okay. But the movie was along the same lines as Vampire Academy.
Yeah.
Bad casting, bad budget, just bad. Just bad. It
Mm.
was all bad. I have nothing good to say about it.
Yeah, I agree with all that. The next one on my list is The Giver. So I
I
read
haven't
this
seen
in
it.
so I read this in high school. I had to read this in high school. So it's been years since I read the book, but I recently watched the movie and the endings are completely different because they changed quite a bit of the plot where it gets a happily ever after and the book isn't like that.
So I have a couple of those on this list, and you can't do that. I don't think. If you're going to do a movie about a book, you well keep it to the ending that because I've got three, but I'll go through them in a minute, and I'll have them in the flop section, but only because I've read the books and I know. Okay, so my next one was Gone Girl.
Okay, I've heard of that, but I haven't read the book or seen the movie.
I read the book and I was on the edge of my seat reading that book. Like, crap. And I'm flicking pages and don't talk to me. And it was just an intense, suspenseful journey where you were just like, and then you get to the end of the book and you're like, these two are freaking nutters. These are crazy people. They deserve each other. Ben Affleck can kiss my ass. Are you joking?
That's hilarious.
No, it was bad. They kept it spot on, but again, they made it cringy. It was really cringy.
I hate when
I
they do
was
that.
I was so disappointed because this book was, and it's not a very big book, so I was like, hey, they should nail this. Nope. No. It was just, the acting was bad. The cast choice, I don't think Ben should have played him. It was just bad. It was really bad.
All right, my next one, you're going to agree with this, but Allegiant and Insurgent, the rest of the Divergent series. So they completely went off the plot
What happened?
and then they never finished the series. Part two was never made.
Because that was in the era, and this is the series that I forgot about, which I think they did well. I personally, they're cringe to me, but I read the books and I watched the movies, and that was Twilight, right? They
I never read the books.
see, I read the
I tried to watch the movies. Nope, wasn't happening.
movies. Oh my god, that first movie. So the first movie, the first Twilight movie, I read all the Twilights, read them all, read all three, and when the movies came out. This was when Blockbuster was still around. And I said to my husband, I'm like, let's watch this. I'm really excited. I read the book. So you know how it was Team Jacob
Yeah.
and Team Edward?
Yeah.
My husband was Team Refund. So we had two couches, right? We had a 2-seater and a 3-seater, and one was back against the wall, one was on the side. I was sitting on the side, like lying across the couch watching the TV like this. And this talk about bombastic side eye. Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
In the end, even because I knew it was so bad, I was like this, going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And at the end of it, he went, that's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. And I was like, yeah, I'm really
I'm really sorry.
It was a flop. It was 100%. Look, I know it's got a massive following. What in the I'm sorry. Look, I loved you in Harry Potter because you had a very small part, Robert Pattinson. But you were not Edward. Okay? You were not. Tyler, look, no, yeah, you probably nailed Jacob. Yeah, I'd probably go with that. Actually, all the wolves were probably nailed. Rosalie, nailed. But that's what we're talking about. With your book, it was in the air, like with Divergent, it was in the era of, hey, because we don't want to upset everybody and screw up the adaptation, let's make it 2 movies instead of 1. So it was just 2 really bad movies instead of 1 bad movie.
What's funny, the series never got finished. Do you want to know why? Because I looked this up. Do you want to know why? Because the actors got other jobs and we're like, nah, I'm not doing another one.
Because it flopped so bad, I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. So we had Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, part 1 and 2. We had The Last Twilight, part 1 and 2. Same with the Divergent series. It was part 1. And that part 1, like those 2 last movies, you went,
what?
Did you even read the book? Is the author on set somewhere? Just out of curiosity, did you check to see what happened if you weren't going to read it? Because what was that? And that was the same with Twilight. You're getting to the end of this. Like, my friend said to me, we're going to go and see Twilight, the last one, the last part at Gold Class. And I went, I'm not going. Oh, no, you have to. We've all seen them. Aside from the first one, we've seen them all together like it's a tradition. I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to waste $70 on that.
Yeah, to watch a piece of trash movie.
Yeah. And they were like, just drink. And I went, yeah, fine.
Okay.
So we went and watched it I am absolutely in hysterics in that last part of that last movie. I was like, ha ha, talk about changing it up. It's still shit. But that it was the whole thing. So I don't blame them for getting other jobs and going, yeah, no.
Oh, I'm probably gonna get some hate for the last one on my list.
Okay, go.
Bridgerton.
Why the fuck is that not on my list?
So
Oh my
they
God.
aren't really following the book plots as closely as they should, given it's a series. They have a lot of time, they have a lot of budget, and the last season was so mad. Me, you, and Shay sat and binged it together, and we were so mad.
So I thought they did well with the first one. Thought they did well.
Yeah, they progressively
And then it, and
teetered
no,
off.
because the second season was average as it was average. But Queen Charlotte, amazing. I
But
know,
that wasn't,
I know. But what I'm saying is if you can pull that out your ass with no book, what happened with 2 and 3?
yeah. No,
What
I
happened?
agree. I agree. They left out a lot. They changed too much, and I'm specifically talking season 3. And
Season
and yeah, and the way that it's revealed, like the big reveal, that was way not how it happened.
I have zero interest in watching Benedict's series. Zero.
And you know what else irritated me about the last season was there was only 2 schmeck scenes in the whole lot.
I heard rumors. No, they're only rumors, but I heard rumors it was because production didn't think that her body was
And that,
right for shot.
and that's wrong.
Yeah.
Period.
Especially for the day, because that time period, her body was the one that was desirable, not the others.
Yep.
Yeah. I have zero desire to watch his whole foray into bisexuality. Look, you do you, boo. Couldn't give a no problem with it whatsoever. Wasn't in the book. Okay? Wasn't there. I
But
don't understand.
can you just imagine though how empowering it would have been had they put more schmeck scenes in there with a shapely woman? Do you know what I mean? Like,
She's
hello,
gorgeous.
she's gorgeous. I don't know. I don't understand.
She's smaller than me. So I'm a bigger woman and I have zero. Why wouldn't you? Because she's not, I don't like America, I don't know, is it size 0? But anyway, for the UK and for Australia, it'd probably be like an 8. Same with New
Mm,
Zealand, about an 8, 8 to 10. Right? Is it because she's not an 8 to 10? She's gorgeous. She's not big at all. Like she's just a fuller figured girl, woman, actually, because she's an adult. And you're just like, nah, sorry.
and being that it's a historical romance, like research your history, mate. Women back then were actually desired for having wider hips,
Fuller
bigger,
figure.
yeah, a fuller figure, because
Because
skinny little girls probably couldn't reproduce as well.
it was that, it was the wide birthing hips. And it was also the fact that if you were bigger, it came across like you had more wealth because you could freaking eat.
Exactly.
Where everyone else was starving, you were not. But I was just, oh, I have zero interest in watching the rest of them. They destroyed it. No desire. None at all. I won't be watching it. But my other one is Angels and Demons by Dan Brown.
I've seen the movie, have not read the book.
Movie was terrible. Book was great.
I don't
Movie was
remember.
no good.
Dude, I think I saw that movie back in 2005. So I can't remember it.
But I read these books, right? These books were fast paced, they were entertaining, they made you think. Like with Da Vinci Code, I remember I was raised Catholic. My kids are baptized. I remember walking into my stepmother at the time and going, at school, I got told I was an idiot for this. Mary Magdalene, could she
Hmm.
have been Jesus's wife? And my stepmom was like, and as I said, our whole family was Catholic, and she was like, we don't know. And I'm like, I literally in school got, funnily enough, crucified for questioning Mary Magdalene's being the only woman around Jesus. I was like, that makes no sense to me. Why is, I don't understand. But I walked in going, that is plausible. It's really plausible.
It's also plausible that he reproduced. It's also
Yeah.
plausible that there's 100 possibilities where that all that's concerned.
But the book portrayed that beautifully.
Mm.
The movie portrayed that beautifully. Angels and Demons, I was like, you're missing the point of this book. You're missing it. Anyway,
Anyway, so why do you think these ones flopped so bad?
I think it's got a lot to do with sticking to the book. So missing parts. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban just broke my heart.
Mm.
It broke my heart. And this is where I'm actually going to talk about some of the books that I think did, and the movie adaptations did really well, but then screwed it at the end. They just missed stuff. Or they've added stuff in that didn't need to be there.
Yeah, I had loss of context from the book to the screen
Yep.
with leaving things out or adding things in. I had budget as well. Like Vampire Academy, that was all budget because you could tell they had $100.
Yep.
Like it was bad. And the other thing was completely changing characters or plot lines.
Okay. So I have an example of that. I have a few, actually.
Yep.
My very first one is The Power of One by Bryce Courtney. So it is a long book. It is full on and it is intense. Okay. It is an intense book. And this was way before you had trigger warnings, right? Like I was in my 20s reading this going, holy shit. Oh my God. This is terrible. Have you seen the movie?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I would say watch the movie and then establish that the movie stands on its own merit.
Mm.
Then read the book because then you will go, oh no. So there was a lot of things left out in The Power of One in the movie, and I understand it was a long book. You can't put it all in. We get this. But they created a character that wasn't even in the book.
Yeah, like we're bleeding into our next question with this too, which
Well,
is
that's true.
what parts were left out from our favorite book to screen adaptations?
See, this wasn't my favorite part. Like, it wasn't anything. The ending was completely different, like completely different. And then they brought in this female character who was the love interest for the MC. And I'm like, this isn't a freaking love story. No. This is about South Africa in the middle of apartheid.
Ooh, that's heavy.
It's heavy as heavy. Morgan Freeman plays Hill Pete, okay? And this character, oh my God. You know what? I probably sobbed harder with Hill Pete's death than I did in any part in Sunrise on the Reap. Like, I was just gutted. Absolutely gutted. Morgan Freeman nailed him beautifully, okay? But this isn't a love story. Who the hell is this redhead and why is she here? And then they go and kill her off. And I was like, so what was the point? It's not even funny.
It actually is pretty funny.
I watched that movie and went, oh my God, this is a really great movie. And then I read the book and I was like, who the hell was that redheaded? And why was she there? She wasn't needed. Absolutely, she wasn't needed. And it made the movie more a romance. And here's the thing. I felt like they had her in there and her death was there for shock value. Mate, if you'd have stuck closer to the book and had the ending match the book, it'd hit harder than that death. 100%. I don't understand. You took away from what this book was trying to bring attention to. You took away all of that by pulling in a romance that was never freaking there at all.
That sounds like censorship.
So we don't have a question on this, but I want to address that later because, yes, to me, it felt very much like censorship. And there's a couple of others that are like that I feel you've been censored or you think you should censor it and that screwed you because 100% when I read this book, it is still one of my favorite books of all time. There is a kids version, so less the violence. And my daughter started reading it because it's for kids, like specifically 12-year-olds. And she was just like, Mum, this is bad. And I'm like, yeah, it was bad back then.
Yeah.
I also think it has a lot to do with, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like directors and like the cinematography industry gets this manuscript, like, here, this is the book, and they go, eh, I know what I can do with this.
Yeah.
That's just the feel I get. Could be wrong.
Taking creative licensing.
Way too much creative licensing.
Okay. What parts were left out from our favorite book to screen adaptations?
So I have a few, but my main one sounds really stupid coming off the back of the Power of One. But my main one was Peeves. Yeah, you haven't read
From
Harry Potter, have you?
from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He added such depth to that series, the tolerance that everyone had to have with Peeves. And if you look into some of the things that he did, yeah, while he's a poltergeist and while he's likes having fun, he's also he helped move the story along. He helped bring in context that wasn't there without him. And they just went, we don't need him.
Yeah. And I have read Harry Potter, but not the whole series. I
Right.
have finished the series. Okay. So the Hunger Games. So I think the origin of the Mockingjay pin, it was changed straight off the
Hmm.
bat, which I fear Sunrise on the Reaping is going to leave that out as well because the original trilogy didn't give context to that.
You can't pull it in now, can you?
Yeah, have no opportunity for that.
Look, I suppose you could actually pull it in, I think.
You could if you did it as basically Tam Amber handing it over to somebody, but that would be about it.
You could do it if Maisley yeets it.
Yeah, something. I don't know.
Something
But
like that, where she gets given it and then no. I don't know.
yeah. Also, Peeta's depth as a character
Peter's leg.
and his leg, like aside from his leg, because
That annoys me.
but when I say Peeta's depth as a character, I'm specifically talking in Catching Fire because they left out so much of how Katniss and Peeta actually built their relationship, like with her family's book and him drawing in it and them spending all this time together to research and study before the games. And their scores weren't even mentioned in Catching Fire. And I've also seen scenes that were cut from Catching Fire that if they would have been left in would have made it so much better.
Yeah.
Now that I've read Sunrise on the Reaping, now I'm angry that they portrayed Haymitch the way they portrayed him because he doesn't look anything like Woody Harrelson's character in the original trilogy.
As in physically. Yeah, and I agree with you there. However,
He's a seam
would
boy. He wouldn't
yeah,
have
but
blonde hair.
okay, yeah, fair. But would I've said to you, I'm happy you get whoever you can. If you can't find someone who sticks exactly to the description, then you get an actor who can play them. And Woody Harrelson named like absolutely nailed him.
No, he nailed the character, but what would have been wrong with making his hair darker and giving
Oh,
him a
just dyeing it.
spray tan or something? You know what I mean? Like
Maybe Woody was a bit vain and went, "Yeah, touch my hair."
it was a wig. He's bald.
Oh, he
Hello.
is too.
Yeah, that was a wig. Come on. That's what I mean. But
Yeah, that's
then
dumb then.
again, yeah. Anyways, and then the other thing with the Hunger Games trilogy that irritated me, aside from Peeta's leg and Peeta's and Katniss's relationship build, was the end of Mockingjay. In the books, it is explained that it's been 15 years between the end of the rebellion and where they have a family. But in the movie, she's 23, 24, and they have two kids. No, that's not how that went. He had to convince her over a decade and a half that it was safe enough to have children.
You know what annoyed me about it was in Catching Fire when Katniss's mum is trying to fix Gale because he's been whipped. And we all know that Katniss's mum's a bit frail and a bit like she's had a tough life after Sunrise on the Reaping. But when she gets a person who has been injured on her table because she's there to fix them, her hands don't shake. She's got this in the bag. And I know it was, yeah, Prim takes over. Yeah. When her mum's got a casualty in front of her, she's got this. She's steady, she's calm, she knows what she's doing, she directs everybody. But in the movie, they were like, and Prim's like, oh, I'll do it. And I went, no, I don't like that.
Oh, yeah. I see what you mean. And the other thing, there's another thing too. Gail at the whipping post. They didn't explain all that either.
They didn't.
But, anyways,
Do you have any more?
not on the Hunger Games.
So,
I have more books. Yeah.
okay, I have one. As I said, this is something that the movie stuck pretty close up until the end. And that was Inferno. They changed the ending again.
To make it happier.
Yep. Yep. To make it happier.
Do you think it was censorship?
Maybe. And it pissed me off. Like it 100% me off. And because you read this whole entire book and you go through this whole entire book with like you think you know the ending. You think you know what's coming. And the book 100% is leading you down that exact path. Right? And then you get to the end and it is quite literally like maybe a couple of paragraphs, right? But the end is the twist at the end. You go, oh my God. And then you look back through the rest of the book and go, hang on a minute. That still works. That still works. The way it was described, that nails it too. That's some brilliant writing. It completely, again, changed the context of that book.
Yeah. It's never good when they do that.
Completely. Complete context of that book. And I went, how? Because I was waiting. I was sitting there watching it with, I can't even remember who I was watching it with, but I was sitting there watching and I was like, I cannot wait for this huge reveal because everyone's going to be like, oh. So I'm sitting there watching it.
And it never came.
It never came. It just, and it was the biggest letdown. But it makes me think, why did you, and I don't know if you want me to ruin it for you because.
No, don't ruin it for me.
You'd actually really like it. To be honest, you'd really like that book and you'd get to the end and be like, holy shit, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It was so much of a letdown and just completely changed the context of the book, completely took you out of the story that I went, so what was the point? It follows Robert Langdon. He's an academic. This isn't Jason Bourne. What are you doing? It's dumb.
Oh, that's funny. All right. The next one on my list is Fried Green Tomatoes, the movie.
Ooh.
So I wish they would have included what happened to some of the side characters in the book in the movie. So the movie ended well, but the book went way further than the movie. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. But
Yeah,
I picked up on this immediately. And I first saw this movie when I was about, again, 12, 13 years old, maybe even a bit younger than that. But I wish, and this was definitely censorship, I think, because it was made in the early 90s, I believe. But it's essentially about these two female main characters who form this bond. And the main female character, she's this wild tomboy figure. And the other female main character is very proper, very Southern belle, very ladylike. Essentially, she ends up marrying for status because she's a bit more upper class or cares more about class. But the two main female characters, it's a queer love story, actually. But the way that it's adapted on screen and even in the book a little bit, you have to interpret that for yourself. You have to read between the lines of what's going on. And essentially, they end up living together, move in together, raise the son together during the Great Depression. But I thought that aside from what was left out from the book with the side characters and what happens after the movie ends, because there were probably, I would say, 50 to 100 pages of content that was left out of the movie that would have been great to have in the movie. But as far as adaptations go, I think it's one of the better ones that's ever been done.
Nice.
What's your next one?
So my next one, I haven't read this one, but again, I'm going off the fact that it was changed ending.
Okay.
Okay. I've seen the movie. My Sister's Keeper.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Have you seen it?
Yes, not recently, years ago. Yeah, I watched it.
She doesn't survive.
What?
The girl with the sister with cancer survives, but the little girl, she dies.
Awful.
But that's poignant because it doesn't matter what you do, you can't cheat death. So yes, they were using her to try and keep her sister alive, right? Her sister's, no, I'm done. I want to go. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do this to my little sister. And then at the end of the book, at the end of the movie, the sister dies of cancer. The other one survives. Her and her mum try and get a relationship, blah, blah, blah. Except in the book, the cancer patient survives and the little sister dies. I think she gets hit by a car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so all this time, mum was trying to keep one child alive because the rest of them weren't sick. That one survives, but the one that wasn't sick dies. You lost one child anyway.
Yeah, that was definitely taking the context out.
Ruined. If I'd have read that book and then seen that movie, it's along similar lines to Inferno. I'd have just been like, you're missing the point.
Oh, gosh.
You're missing the point of why that book was written. You're ruining it. You would hit harder. You would get a better reaction. And I feel like censorship may have a lot to do with it. But you would have gotten you would have stunned audiences with that. If we can have horror films, I don't understand why we can't have book to movie adaptations that stick to endings like that, because that is like mind-blowing, amazing.
Yeah. My next one is Flowers in the Attic because they left some stuff out. So while the plot stuck pretty close, it places two of the kids in the attic to become lovers. Like in the movie, they consensually become lovers because they're locked in this attic for years. Okay. It's not like a couple weeks, it's years. So they reach puberty and they're the only male and female that they know, is essentially how it's translated onto the screen. In the book, it doesn't happen that way exactly. So in the book, the two teenagers, they are going through puberty and they find themselves attracted to each other, but they just eye to eye, like they don't act on it. The FMC is later graped by her brother because in the book, she sneaks down out of the attic because over the time that they're in the attic, they make a skeleton key to get themselves out. So basically their plan is they're going to start stealing from the house so that they can have stuff to sell for their escape. One night the FMC goes down and is curious about her mother's new husband because her mother has remarried already. And so she finds her stepfather sleeping and kisses him. And so when the brother finds out what's happened, he decides he's going to grape her. Why are you looking at me like that?
No reason.
So this was all left out of the movie.
Yeah.
This is only in the book. The movie also doesn't show these kids making the skeleton keys and going down to steal these things. There's maybe one scene where they go down and it happens to be where they go down and they witness their mother's wedding reception to to whoever she's married. And the movie also never shows where they go once they escape the attic. The movie basically ends, they get out and they're basically running across the lawn to leave. There's a little bit of voiceover from the actors basically saying all those years we spent in the attic, blah, 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 blah. And it dictates that the older brother became a doctor and the older sister became a ballerina dancer and all this. And that's not what happened in the book. They ended up moving to Florida, actually. And it wasn't until they leave, get to the train station, that it's revealed that the reason they were locked in the attic was because if the grandfather ever found out about them, their mother wouldn't get a dime. I'm trying to explain this the best I can, but this is a messed up book.
Yep.
So, long story short, Grandpa is dying as these kids are locked in the attic. They find out later that they were kept in the attic for at least a year after the grandfather passed away. And their mother also is poisoning them with rat poison in their food to try to kill them off so that they can't ever be revealed. You're looking at me like, what?
What the? Yep. Okay.
Yeah. But so those things were left out of the movie, but the movie can stand on its own. And actually, because I'm curious, I want to see really quick because the grandmother was like a really well-known actress in the day. Louise Fletcher. She was the original grandmother. Christy Swanson was the
Oh, yeah.
oldest sister. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't seen the remake that was made in 2014, but I'm talking the original movie. The original movie was scary-ish. Okay, do you have a next one?
Yeah, I do, but it's just a changed thing. It's not really missing. And it was, I'm going to go back to Harry Potter. It was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Okay.
Okay.
And every Harry Potter fan, if you're a Harry Potter fan and you're watching this, you will know the part I'm talking about where everyone was like, off. Dumbledore does not scream at Harry. So after he's put his name gets called out of the cup, pulled it like it flies out the cup, and Dumbledore reads it and he yells out, Harry Potter! And you're like, yeah, no. And then in the room when they're all separated, he doesn't rush Harry like he's about to beat the living crap out of him and scream in his face, did you put your name in that goblet? Did you ask someone, an older student, to do it? No, he's not yelling at him at all. He is very calmly asking, Harry, did you put your name in that goblet? Harry answers, no, Professor. Did you ask one of the older students to put your name in that goblet? No, Professor. It's all very calm. It's none of this. With Harry Potter fans, we were all sitting there going,
It wasn't this traumatizing in the book.
yeah, why are you screaming at Harry? It doesn't make any sense.
The last one I have is Outlander.
Okay, let's discuss.
I have not read all the books.
I have not either.
However, my auntie, my granny, my cousin, they have read a vast majority of the books.
Yep.
So one of the things that I know is that the books are far more schmexually explicit than the show is, as in a lot more kink. I know. And it was,
I didn't get that when I read them.
my granny, it was her favorite series. And when my auntie told me that, I was like,
that's cool.
What? Excuse me? I don't want to think about that, but thanks. I've also heard too that some of the criticism from Outlander is that Jamie is wrong.
No, don't even go there.
Specifically because in the books, he's described more as like short, stocky build.
Who gives a fat rat's ass on that, mate? Have you seen Sam Hewitt? Nobody cares.
Oh, no, I have. We all love Jamie. in
We
the
all love
show.
Jamie.
Hello. If you're a red hot blooded woman, you know who that man is.
Oh, you 100% do.
He's up there with Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah. Okay. So I will give a little bit of backstory on this. I actually watched the series before I realized it was a book series and went, ooh, because we know as readers that the book is always freaking better, except in this circumstance. And
I've heard that too.
this is the only one I've come across. I read the first book, I read the second book, and I went, what? I don't understand. Okay. Sure. I had zero connection to any of the characters, even though I'd seen the characters on screen and I should have had a connection. I didn't. Zero connection to any of the characters. I suppose I didn't hate Jack as much in the book as I did in the TV series.
Yeah.
I didn't get the marry over. I was like, wow, they did a really good job to make this TV series so much better than the book. I stopped reading the books. In saying that, though, I've also stopped watching the series.
Okay. So after talking about things that were changed and in our favorite adaptations, do you think that this affected the screen version's overall likability?
Yes.
See, I said yes and no.
It does. It 100% does.
I think it's a bit disappointing unless the book and the screen can stand on their own, apart from each other.
The only one I've got for that is The Power of One. Okay? They can stand on their own.
I think the Hunger Games could individually stand on their own. The original trilogy.
True. Fair. Yes, fair. The Hunger Games can stand on their own. All right, fine. The first Divergent could probably stand on its own too. And I suppose, look, in saying that, every time my husband doesn't read. So when we see a movie that's been a book and I've read it, he quite literally goes, don't speak. I don't want to hear your issues because I know you're going to have them. Yeah, just shut up. But he will sit there and go, I quite like that. That was actually really good. I sit there and go, what do you mean? Just terrible. But he will quite enjoy a movie that's been adapted from a book because he doesn't know any different.
Yeah.
So most of them would probably stand on their own unless you're talking like Vampire Academy and all those kind of ones that are in Twilight that are just trash anyway.
Those with zero budget.
Yeah, but in saying that though, when I sit there and look at The Power of One and go, nah, sorry, book still kills you. Same with Hunger Games. Yes, you can individually stand on your own, but if you even so much as have a comparison, you don't stand up. You're never gonna. Okay. Should books be adapted into, in saying all of this, because we've had this long discussion, into TV series or movie?
It really depends. I think TV series, and I said this with the Hunger Games. So I think TV series are more popular now because of all the streaming services. Because if you're talking about a book series, you have much longer to actually tell the story properly. There's more screen time. I don't know, like movies, if it's a series, it sucks because you're going to have to cut stuff out.
So I feel if you've got a series, like so there's book 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on the book. So Harry Potter worked, okay? Would we have all preferred it as a TV series? Probably.
They're coming out with one.
Yes, they are. But it worked. For the majority of it, it worked. I think if you have standalone books, yes, movie is 100% the way to go. Just don't try and fit it into an hour and 10 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes. Give us a 2 to 2.5 hour movie and you could probably get most of the in there that we need to get in there. If you're giving me an hour and a half, you're cutting and changing everything and then I'm going to hate it. But I feel if it's a series, you should probably do a TV show.
Okay, so why do you think that book readers get so frustrated with adaptations to screen?
I feel it's because we get so invested in our books that the second they go to screen, all right, maybe I'm speaking from personal experience, but if it doesn't match what I have in here, you've lost me.
My notes for this are actually, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Books rise to popularity because people love what the author has written. So why are you trying to redo it?
Yeah, do not put your spin on it. We don't want
Yeah.
your spin.
We don't want your spin. We just want you to put what's in that book onto a screen. That's
And
it.
and this is why it doesn't make any sense, right? Because the reason you are getting the budget to do this movie, or the reason this book is now becoming a movie, is because it has a following, is because it has a backing. You've already got, regardless, a whole bunch of people, depending on the book, millions of people that will invest time and money into this TV series or into this movie. They're already there. They're waiting for you.
Yeah,
How do you screw it up?
exactly.
Stop taking stuff out that you don't think is important. Maybe talk to the author, or maybe talk to the fans.
Mm.
That's probably where, like, the way to go. Because I'm telling you right now, if Fourth Wing gets done,
We're
and
going to
they,
talk about that. Okay, next question.
do you think they might be better if the author was given more of a say over the production?
100%. Absolutely. I think some of the best adaptations have come because the author was heavily involved.
So I'm a yes and a no. See, it's really hard, isn't it? Because authors are authors, right? And your production staff, so your director, your screenwriters, and everything like that, they're not the same thing. So
We're going to talk about that actually.
you could have an author try and put in, no, you need to do A, B, C, D. And you can have the screenwriters and the production staff go, that is never, you need to listen to what we're saying. That's not going to work. We can't do that.
My best example of this is the Hunger Games trilogy, the original movies, because Suzanne Collins was heavily involved in that process.
It leads into our last question, right? Because if you talk to the fans and go, what is a must? And the author, what is a must? What is something you have to have? Tell us what we cannot cut. It might make a difference.
What are some adaptations you're looking forward to with all of your fingers and toes crossed?
There's a few actually, but do you know what my first
I've
one?
got a list.
You probably got a longer list than me. So my top one, we might not have the same top one, and we might, is Butcher and Blackbird.
That's on my list, but it's not the top one.
I'm worried.
I'm worried too.
I'm looking forward to it. Like, I'm super excited.
I know that the
I'm worried.
director is the director from Lego Batman. So it's going to be funny.
Which is fine because the book was funny.
And these are going to be movies, as I understand it.
So Butcher and Blackbird is a movie, yes. Which I think could work. It doesn't need to be that long because Butcher and Blackbird's not that long.
No,
But
it could definitely work as a movie, but we'll see.
yeah. What's your next one?
The Empyrean series.
That was my next one.
I've actually been following along with this, and Rebecca is actually heavily involved in the entire process, even co-writing the screenplay.
Well, that'd be good.
It is Amazon though, so that makes me a bit worried because
Yeah.
they've got a habit of if it doesn't catch like fire, they tend to cancel it immediately.
So I am a little bit worried that the way I see it, right? If you can do Game of Thrones with dragons and stuff, you can do the Empyrean series. You can 100% do the Empyrean series.
But also, on the same note, the showrunner is actually Maura Beckett Whatley or something like that. But, anyways, she's the same woman who was a writer for the series Breaking Bad. I don't know if you ever watched that.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard really good things about it.
Oh, that show is excellent. Essentially, it's about a high school chemistry teacher who becomes a meth dealer and gets involved with the cartels. And there's lots of violence, lots of drama. It was excellent.
I'm just worried.
We'll see.
So far, I know they haven't announced the cast, but so far, I'm not liking it. If all the hints and everything that have been dropped, I'm sorry, but he's not Zayden.
What's your next one?
So my next one is Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yeah, I have that one too. I think, look, with the casting announcements and the budget, I think it's going to be fantastic. I don't know that you're going to get all of the Covey lore, though.
I don't think you are. And I think, unfortunately,
Well,
Laura Honey, you're just gonna have to accept that.
I know,
You
but
don't.
it just makes me so sad. That's like the
I
best part of the books.
Yes, but you had to have gotten that backstory in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and you didn't get it. So they're not going to do it now.
Yeah.
You might get a comparison between Lucy Gray and Lenore Dove. You know the scene I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I think they will do that, but I don't think they'll go as far as I think Burdock will still be Haymitch's best friend, but it will never be explained that he's a Covey descendant.
You might get it when you get that scene where he's outside the fence and they're in the apple orchard or near the apple trees or whatever, and you might get it. Look, you might get it,
We'll see.
but you're not going to get the lore you want, honey. I'm sorry. It's done and dusted. Okay, it would have need to have been. It would have need to have started in the original trilogy, and it didn't.
Yeah.
But I think with the casting choices, with the way they've announced the casting choices, my only concern now is that, damn, you've built this up. So we've all built it up. What if we overhype it for ourselves and then we get there and we're like, oh, it's just average. I'm scared that's what I'll do. I'm scared because I'm so excited, and the way they've announced all the casting choices has been amazing, and it's just been going really good. And I'm going to be like, yeah, this is going to be amazing. And I'm going to get there and I'm going to be like, oh no.
Yeah, definitely. But I do want to go to the midnight premiere of that one.
Oh, 100% we are.
Yeah, 100%. We do.
Yeah. Your next one?
Quicksilver.
That was like 2 away from me.
There was actually a huge bidding war over Quicksilver, and Netflix was the one that got it. And the producer, I can't even pronounce her name, Cantillon?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Anyways, she was also the producer of The Nightingale, which was a book adaptation from Kristen Hanna.
Yep.
And she also did the adaptation of Persuasion by Jane Austen for Netflix as well. So we will see how that one turns out.
Yeah. I love that book. So fingers crossed.
They better get Carrie and Swift.
They better get Carrie and Swift. Just like they better nail Riddick. If they don't nail Riddick, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next one, which I'm not sure I want to watch, but I'm excited to watch, but I don't know, is the Black Dagger Brotherhood.
That J.R. Ward is extremely involved in that.
I've seen all the TikToks. I've seen them all. But my concern is, right, because it's on, is it Passionflix?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit concerned with the overacting that may come about.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, though.
We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
My next one is the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy.
Is that becoming a thing?
Yes. So it's already all cast. Like they have the whole cast for season 1. I'm nervous for this one because, again, it's another Amazon MGM acquisition. And the only recognized name on the cast list for me was Josh Houston.
Okay.
Who everyone thought was being cast as Zayden Ryerson or Bodhi or Garrick.
Okay, yeah.
For Fourth Wing, which may still be true. I don't know. But he has only been cast as the FMC in book 1's ex-boyfriend. So he'll only be in the first season of that. So it's entirely possible that he'll go on to do the Empyrean series as well in some sort of role.
Okay. So my next one is Wuthering Heights.
Oh, they're making that into a show? Cool. Yeah, I have never read that.
Scary. So Margot Robbie is actually Kathy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard some criticisms the other day of like, why does something about the dress that she was wearing in it.
In Wuthering Heights.
Just a random picture of her in a wedding dress that wasn't true to the time period or something like that. And everybody was freaking out.
Really? I haven't seen anything like that. It's meant to be coming out next year.
Yeah, if I find the article, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me.
I don't have any others.
I don't have any others. We were going to get Akatar, but I reckon that's gone.
I think that's about as hopeful as the next Akatar book. We haven't heard anything.
No, we haven't. I don't know of any others either. I'm sure there's heaps more that we just don't know of. But I don't have any others.
It's that
It
time
is.
again.
It's that time again.
Okay. This week, our cocktail is for both the book and the movie, and it is sure to hit you hard. Our cocktail is called The Queen's Gambit, which neither of us has actually read or watched. And it is brought to you by smartblend.co.uk. And here's what you'll need all the ingredients are in US measurements. So you'll need 2 ounces of gin, 1/3 of an ounce of dry vermouth, and 1 pickled onion. Ugh. Jeez.
I love pickled onions.
Instructions. So we're going to pour the gin and the dry vermouth into a large mixing glass filled to the top with ice. Stir until preferred dilution and then strain into an ice cold V-shaped glass. Finish by topping with a pickled onion and enjoy. That does not sound like anything I want to drink. That sounds like a martini with an onion in it.
It's a martini. It's a version of a martini. But yeah, it's called the Queen's Gambit.
Oh,
I love pickled onions. I would 100% drink that.
I don't love onions, period.
What?
No, I'm not a huge onion person.
Love onions. Huge thank you to all the bibliomaniacs out there listening. Please stop by our Instagram page, The Plot with a Twist, and check out the link tree in our bio, where you can find links to us across the internet, including all our social media, and most recently our episodes on YouTube, website, shop, and Facebook group. Give us a like or a follow so that you can stay up to date with episode releases and product launches from our book merch shop. We appreciate your support from the bottom of our hearts. Every little bit counts. Tune in next week for another all-new bookish episode full of magic, mayhem, and maybe just a little bit of smart. Until then, keep reading